Welcome to Room. I'm your girl Lena Ferrari, and today we have a very special guest with us, Ralph McDaniels. Welcome.
What's up, Lena?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm here with you. I feel good. I see my opening behind me, video music box. I'm excited.
Very excited to have you. It's an honor. So welcome to Room, and obviously you are the creator of Video Music Box.
Absolutely.
So why don't you just give your brief description of what it is for anybody who's playing catch up?
Well, Video Music Box is a show I started in 1983, long time
ago.
You weren't even born probably then.
Okay.
And but it's all good. But you know, it was an idea that we had to document what was going on in my community, as well as play music videos, because music videos were new. Like, people think that music videos existed forever,
right?
But around that time is when they first started coming about. And so we took some music videos that we had compiled. Maybe there were 20 music videos. Imagine that. Like, you go on YouTube and there's millions,
yes.
Now. But there was that many, and we started putting them together. Stuff like Michael Jackson, U2, groups like that, Madonna. If you look at the opening, you see James Brown footage, and we put all that stuff together, as well as did interviews with people that were in our community, and we talked about issues that were happening in our community, like now in 2012, Trayvon Martin is a big thing that everybody's talking about. So we might have talked about whatever was going on in 1983 at that time. And then to make it interesting, we put the music videos in there so that people would watch and that young people would get involved in, and want to continue to watch the show. So that's how it started.
I like it. Mm-hmm. So your intention behind creating it, like, obviously you were inspired by what was going on around you, but it became a huge success.
Yes.
When you were, when this was just a baby and it was an idea, did you imagine that sort of full-blown success that it had? Or when you thought about it, what was your intention in creating it?
I didn't think of it as it being the first, the legendary thing that people kind of put on me. But I go, we knew that it was going to be important because there was nothing else that was out there that gave the same effect that we did. You had shows that had live performances, like American Bandstand with Dick Clark, and Don Cornelius Soul Train. But the music video format was totally different. It's like when regular cameras went to digital, all of a sudden it just looked a lot different.
Right.
So people got really excited about it, and that's what happened with Video Music Box. It basically became the new thing. It was like we stopped listening to cassettes and we started listening to CDs. We were that transition. So it was new, it was exciting, and people jumped on it, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. But still, some artists didn't even understand what music video was all about. Because prior to that, we were just walking up to people with cameras, and people were going like, well, what is this for? Like the news? Because the only thing you knew was like, oh, is this for Eyewitness News, or is this for CBS? Or I'm like, no, this is for Video Music Box. Like, what's Video Music Box? What is that? Because you never even heard that term. MTV didn't exist. We didn't have cable here in New York, so we didn't see MTV. BET definitely didn't exist. And anything else that was out there, VH1, all of these channels that now exist, they didn't exist at that time. So there was nothing else to really have a barometer for, except for a show called New York Hot Tracks. The New York Hot Tracks came out. There was a guy named Carlos De Jesus. He used to work on this disco station called KTU, and he started hosting that. And it was me and Carlos De Jesus, and those were the two shows that started around that time. And we basically were putting on music videos, and we were doing it from the clubs because I thought that the club scene would be pretty cool. Plus, young people, if you were under 21 or under 18, you couldn't go to clubs. So now you were seeing what the club scene was like. So you're seeing what the girls are wearing. You're checking out what guys are doing, hip hop. Shouting out, things like that. All of that was going on. So it was pretty cool.
Sounds pretty crazy. Cool.
Yeah, for the first time, if you never saw anything like that, it was like, what is this? And I want to be part of this, and I want to be on that show, and I want to be at that club, and I want to do a shout out, and I want to meet Ralph McDaniels. And how do I do that?
You do it here on Vroom.
That's right.
So you were young when you started this.
Yeah, I was like 16.
Out of college. I just lied to you. It made me look bad. Maybe not 16, but you were young.
Yes.
You started, or when this idea kind of came to life. How was it to see what you were envisioning become a reality, especially so young?
I think the cool part about it is I went to school for film and television. That's what I went to college for. I went to New York Tech in Long Island in Westbury, and I was probably one of the only ones that graduated from my class and actually got a job working in the film and TV business.
Sounds similar to nowadays.
Yeah, so like it was kind of like I told y'all I knew this what I was doing, and I wasn't the greatest student, but I knew that I had an idea that would work. You know what I'm saying? And so once I got that going, and I got involved in the business, and I started working. I worked on other things. Once we started doing Video Music Box, my partner and I, who was also my partner on the show, the Vid Kid, used to be Ralph McDaniels and the Vid Kid. His real name, the Vid Kid, was Lionel C. Martin. So Lionel said to me one day, "Yo, we got to start making videos." And I was like, "Yeah," because the videos that they have out right now are just terrible. We got to do some videos that we think would be more reflective of what the song and what the people really want to see. So we started a company called Classic Concept Productions, and over that time, from like 87 to like 97, 96, 97, we did like over 400 music videos. We put out a lot of people that work in the networks now, ABC, CBS. Hype Williams was my assistant, who's like one of the top directors out, and tons of other people besides Hype, like people even more talented than Hype, what are now working in the business, and so that was something that was pretty cool, and and we worked with everybody. Rest in peace, Whitney Houston. We did videos for Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, all the Belle Biv DeVoe videos, Boyz II Men. The list goes on and on and on. Plus, classic hip hop joints like from Public Enemy, Black Moon, Wu-Tang, Nas. The list was going on and on. So that's probably something a lot of people don't know that we did, because this is before MTV would put your name on there as the director. But now sometimes you go back and you see a rerun on some throwback show and it has,
Now
Ralph
you get
McDaniels.
your credit.
If you're like, I didn't know you did that video. I'm like, yeah, that's when our joints did. Yeah.
So Video Music Box broke a lot of artists just by you really putting their videos out there so that they can become more widespread to a larger audience. But like you said, you also created videos for these artists that are huge now.
Yes.
How does it feel to have been not just like part of their success in terms of their publicity, but creating something like of their vision, working with them to create what would become?
I think it's great. Anytime you can be part of something like, an artist, like let's say Wu-Tang, around the world, you mentioned Wu-Tang and people get crazy, So you were part of it when, RZA came to you with a demo for Protect Your Neck, and in a video that wasn't really even a real video yet. And I said, yo, this is hot. And I said, I'll play it. And he said, can you play it like that? I said, I think you should finish it, but I'll play this version now. And he never finished it, and it was the version that it came out. It had time code on it and all kind of stuff. It really wasn't done.
Right.
But that ended up being how Wu-Tang really was. So we were part of the first time people seeing Wu as, Wu. Prince Raheem was an artist before that was RZA. But Wu-Tang was that's where he really took off, and that's when he made his name. So to be part of that, and and other artists as well, their humble beginnings, and like that was the change, from like I produced the first B.I.G. video, Juicy, and Puffy directed it, so we were part of a whole bunch of things. But like just like how now you're sitting here, there's going to be a new artist that's going to come in here, and you're going to be part of what that person's doing, and you really can't tell because you don't know who's going to be. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I couldn't tell you who, but we are professionals and we do what we do, and we present it out to the viewers, and and let time do what it does.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely have artists that credit you and Video Music Box with breaking them, and if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have been where I'm at, like we're speaking about now.
Oh wow, Nas, what's up, Nas? Come on in, man.
But that'd be a big moment for room.
It sounded like they was about to come in. I was like, really?
Oh yeah, maybe next time, second round. But and you spoke about it a little earlier. It wasn't just for music videos. It was to kind of bring awareness to things in the community. But I feel also that it centralized hip hop, like pulled people in from different areas and brought them together. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. People that are living in in the inner city, you know, they were going to the parks and listening to park jams, and the artists were showing up. But kids that were maybe in the suburbs who didn't know where to go could watch it on Video Music Box now, you know, so it opened up what was kind of like exclusiveness to a whole nother audience who enjoyed the music just as much. You know, I tell people, you know, I can remember, you know, at one point we were working at Hot 97. I worked at Hot 97 for 10 years. And I said to myself, you know, we were doing a concert, and most of the time it was Black and Latino audience. That's who was there. And then one time we come out and we would do our whole thing. Yo, it's Brooklyn in the house. We come out and do our usual thing. And it was a whole white audience. And I said, hip hop has changed. The thing has changed. The audience was totally white. You thought it was just going to be, because I didn't look out to the crowd before I came out from behind the stage. I thought that's what was going to be out there. The whole audience was white. And I was like, all right. And I said the same things that I said to the Black and Latino crowd, and they responded the same way. And the audience knew that it was all love, because it was all about the music. It wasn't about, you know, what color you are or anything like that. That's one thing that's great about hip hop, and that it's always been about the music. You know, nobody could say, oh, nah, this is for, you know, the hood, or this is for that. If you like it, if you know the music, and if you really a fan of it, we down with you on whatever it is. So that's the one thing that always attracted me to hip hop.
Now, everything that you've done, starting, you know, with Video Music Box and then working with videos, seems like your whole career has kind of documented hip hop from its very early beginnings and even through now. So you've seen it go through an evolution, because it's definitely very different, you know, 1983 to now.
I used to have a high top face.
So what is your take on that, like the state of the industry now as opposed to what it was? What was your favorite era of hip hop?
Good question.
I try.
I'm gonna say 90s.
Okay.
Early 90s. I'm always been a fan of, like, from Public Enemy to groups like X-Clan, because they had a message and they were actually, you know, they had something to say, to Nas and Wu-Tang, because Nas and Wu-Tang specifically were more for, like, the corner guys hustling on the corner, you know, the hustle guy. That was a crack era, I call it, heavy duty, and, you know, and their stories were very real. You know, people could relate to it, because the inner city was devastated by crack. You know, I mean, it just wiped whole communities out. So what they were saying in these records were true. You know, it's not like now people are talking about certain things, you're like, I don't see that anymore. Like, what town do you live in? You know? But back then it was very much, you know, the albums and the things that they were talking about in their lyrics were very relatable. And I think that's why I like that era the most.
Now, Video Music Box has been put in like top 10 hip hop moments. It's accredited with a lot, you know, just making hip hop what it is today to the people. But what's your favorite moment, not only for the show, but just in hip hop as it relates to your career? Your like aha moment.
Well, you know what? You know, we on the show, we're, like people say, we're the first to use the term shout out, and so you know, like when we started doing it on the show, like I did it like one time, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, hey, Lena, you want to do a shout out? And you know, and I'm not sure where I got that from. I probably heard somebody else say it. I don't think I came up with it, but I don't even remember. But ever since then, people started using the word on television. So, you know, I've heard Chris Rock say it. I've heard, forget about it. When I heard President Obama shout out his wife, I was like, this is funny. That term was never used on radio and TV. And we started it, and all of a sudden, you know, people are saying, if I could just get a 0.5 cent for that one shout out.
You really should have coined that one.
Right.
Really.
Well, who knew? You know, that's hip hop. You know, you make up stuff, you come up with words, we wear our hats. That's part of the swag, so that's the way it goes.